But now he's got this puppy at 10 weeks old going outside playing keep away, can't catch me. I think you got about 4 or 5 weeks typically to establish good connection and recall without trying very hard. But you have to do it, and you have to do it consistently, and you have to do it repetitiously to create and form the habit. Puppies just naturally follow you around whether you like it or not. You can take advantage of that time and get them used to coming to you for a positive reward, which can be praise. I'm not against a little bit of kibble early on to teach a dog to come to me and get a little bit of kibble. I'm not a treat trainer though, so we're not going to carry around a fanny pack full of treats. We're just utilizing that behavior that's happening naturally and shaping it to be connected to some type of a command and ultimately a habit. If every time you called the puppy to you, you picked it up, scooped it up, brought it in the house, put it in her crate, yeah, she's going to be a little reluctant to come to you. Guys, welcome back. Ben's got the mic unmuted here, so we're going to get rolling. Going to be recording a few more podcasts this week. We're actually heading out this weekend. We're headed to a fundraiser in Missouri with our friends down there for St. Jude's Children's Hospital. So it's an archery shoot that we're part of and excited. So we're going to get a few out recorded here earlier in the week because we are going to be on the road towards the end of the week. But Ben and I recorded a couple yesterday, and we focused on, just coincidentally, it happened to be hold conditioning stuff. It's a real common thread that we see, and both YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, a lot of feedback. I got tagged into a post this morning on some Minnesota waterfowl site that I saw my name got tagged into. Guy was asking a question. His dog was having a hard time delivering birds. Force fetch, force fetch, force fetch. That's what everybody said. Force fetch, force fetch, force fetch, force fetch. And someone made a comment and linked our video, and I appreciate that support by doing that, and said you might want to take a look at hold conditioning, a little bit different technique. And you could tell there was a sense of reading the thread that, force fetch is the only way to go. And I think that it's unfortunate that we, in the gun dog society, I think that's a real common theme. I'm not going to argue with anyone about force fetch because it's not worth my time. I don't care if you force fetch. I don't. And I don't because I don't think it makes sense. Can you get results with it? Absolutely. Can you get results with any style of training? Absolutely. Is it the style of training that I think is best? No. And so that's it. So I'll talk all day about how we do it without force fetch and get good results. So we did that yesterday. We did several of them. And it's a real common one. Here's another common one we're going to talk about today. I'm going to read a couple questions that have come in. They're very simple answers, especially when I respond back, because it is a relatively black and white answer. But when I'm typing it, when I'm doing a podcast on it, I think we can get into it a little bit more. So that's what we're going to try to do today. And the reason is because there's so many questions that have come up. I'm going to read you the questions. It says, Jeremy, I've listened to all your podcasts. They're great, and I've answered a lot of my questions. This is coming from Kyle. I know it's a busy time of year for you. If it's possible, maybe this is a podcast question. My puppy is almost 10 weeks now. I've started with your techniques when feeding to instill patience and also sitting with kibble here and there. I'm trying not to expect too much from her, but my question is, in the past few days, when taking her outside, she does her business, but then she does the staying away from dad routine. You can't catch me. Any pointers would be great. I don't want to start a bad habit. So I think Kyle is doing the right thing by jumping on top of it. I'm going to read you another one here. Give me 1 second and see if I can find it quickly. It's a very similar, okay, so this is one that came to me, the first message was in 2016, actually. So this guy said I'll go way back. This is 2016. I got my first message. His name is Noah. He said, I've been watching your live hold series. I have no idea what dog that would have been. That would have been like 2016. That could have been Spry maybe. I'm not sure, but it's great. Okay, so probably was Spry actually. Now we get down here to more recently, July of this month. He said, just received a 12-week-old puppy. This is July 22nd, so not long ago, less than a month ago. 12-week-old blue lacy pup we've had for a little over a week. Now he's getting very good with staying on place in his crate, steadiness at feeding, but when we go outside, he's very high energy, wants to play. My question is, how do you burn energy in a young pup while maintaining control? We've talked about my thoughts on burning off energy. That's another podcast. We've probably done 2 or 3 of them that we touch on that. I don't burn off energy. I think by exercising physically, I think all that does is create a well-conditioned dog that has more energy to burn. So that's a different. And so I told him, I said, I just think it's a balance of mental and physical exercise. Now, he messaged me back. He said, thanks, I'll look into that. Because I told him, I said, we've done some podcasts actually on it. So I kind of referred him to that. So he said he'll take a look at it. So he messaged me back. He said, okay, I started the podcast, tons of information, and realizing I was expecting way more from this little dog while having him for so little time. Honestly, we've already come a long way. I just need to take a few steps back and proceed with patience. I'll be continuing to dig into your podcast and videos. Thanks for everything you guys do. So this couple mornings ago, I got a message. It says, morning, Jeremy. Okay, fast forward a few weeks. My puppy is now 16 weeks, coming up on 16 weeks old. I've been working on recall with him as much as I can, but it still seems like I'm not getting very far. We've had him on lead most of the time when he goes outside. After meals, I would take Davis to the backyard, let him explore and do his business. Then I would call him over to me. He started doing very well, but now I'll get 1 or 2 good recalls, and then he starts zooming past me. Or when I call, he just takes off hot lapping around the yard, which is what I want to avoid. In the house, when I try to get him to come to me, he'll look at me and go the other way. Even if we're in the hallway, he will just sit and not want to come over to me. We avoid chasing, but if I have him off of place, he hot laps or searches out rugs, etc. to chew on. When I tell him no, you can see it fuels the fire and gets him going and wound up even more. Any thoughts? So the last one was this recall. Remember what the name of the last one was? Kyle?
Yes, Kyle. But he had a longer last name.
I don't think it was a Kyle. I'm going to try to find that last one here quick. Yeah, it was this one. So let's go back. So two questions that are very similar. Recall with young dogs. I think there's a similarity in the answer. I also think there's some things I want to touch on differently because these are 2 different situations. So let's go back to the first one. 10 weeks old, started building in some patience with feeding, probably has her puppy DVD, I'm guessing, or a puppy video. It's also digital now. But so he's got a lot of that puppy foundation stuff started, but now he's got this puppy at 10 weeks old going outside playing keep away, can't catch me, when he takes her outside. So I answered to him. I said, put her on a lead and set her up for success. I mean, that's black and white. It's really simple. First off, though, 10 weeks old. So I do think there's this short window when you bring puppies home when they're 7 to 8 weeks old is usually when we bring them home. And I think you got about 4 or 5 weeks typically to establish good connection and recall without trying very hard. But you have to do it. And you have to do it consistently, and you have to do it repetitiously to create and form the habit. That's when I walk around peeping the whistle like Pied Piper, and the puppies just naturally follow you around, whether you like it or not. You can take advantage of that time and get them used to coming to you for a positive reward, which can be praise. I'm not against a little bit of kibble early on to teach a dog to come to me and get a little bit of kibble. I'm not a treat trainer though, so we're not going to carry around a fanny pack full of treats. I use a little bit of kibble at times to get reluctant puppies to come to me. But most of the time, they're going to follow us around anyway. So we're just utilizing that behavior that's happening naturally and shaping it to be connected to some type of a command and ultimately a habit. And so at 10 weeks, that's a little young to be seeing it. But it's not to say that, different puppies have different personalities. Some become a little bolder quicker, all that stuff. So you're seeing it. Now, so I don't know how much you've done for the last 2 or 3 weeks, depending on how long you had the puppy. But that's done. That ship has sailed. Now you've got this little bit of an issue. So at 10 weeks is about the time I'm usually starting to put a flat collar on the puppy and using the lead, bouncing them around on the lead a little bit. Now, I don't want to start out. So I do think there's a couple things that I would do. You can make it easy and put the dog on a lead, but if you're not ready for the lead, then what do? You should start getting ready for the lead. You need to start working on tying the puppy out. If it's necessary, some dogs don't have a problem giving the pressure to the neck, some do. So you might want to tie the puppy out. Again, this is all going back to that puppy video, that puppy training video that we have. We show a lot of this stuff because it's all preparation stuff for the foundation video, which is heel works, more advanced sit, stay, recall type stuff. But we need to get this puppy to start understanding that you have the option to put the dog on a lead, which takes away all the freedom to running off. Now, I don't know what your setup looks like for your bathroom. It sounds like you're having the issue when you take the dog out to go to the bathroom. Or whenever you take her outside. I think you have to dedicate yourself a little bit of time to taking that puppy outside and figuring out how to get her to come to you positively. I would question and ask, well, what happens normally when you call the puppy to you? What was happening? If every time you called the puppy to you, you picked it up, scooped it up, brought it in the house, and put it in her crate, scooped her up, put her in the house, took her away from what she wanted to do, yeah, she's going to be a little reluctant to come to you because she knows what's coming next. So what I think you should start to do is start to change and keep her honest. Keep her thinking there's a reason that comes to come to Dad when he calls me. Maybe this is time for the kibble. The way I would start this is in a very small area that you just don't give her the chance to get away from you. Now, 10 weeks is borderline because a 7, 8, 9-week-old puppy can't run away from me. They just physically can't get away from me. A 10-week-old, if you can't athletically catch the puppy, then you better not be going after it. That's another question of what happened up to this point. Were we chasing the puppy when the puppy was coming to us? So I think what we need to do is get this puppy to start figuring out that you're not the worst thing. So set some time aside that you go out, get the puppy to come to you, whatever you have to do. If you sit down on the ground, a lot of times I sit right down on the ground, and they come right up into my lap. And I praise them, and I love them up, and then I set them down, and then I just let them go wander around a little bit so that they realize the next thing isn't him scooping me up and bringing me in the house. Playtime's over. Let her play. Let the dog play a little bit. Move around. Go move and sit on another spot and sit down and let the puppy come to you. And when the puppy comes to you, it gets lots of praise, and then you do it again. And all of a sudden, we're starting to change the expectations or the assumption of what comes next. So I think you have to get creative. I can't tell you this without seeing it, but I would get in a small area that the dog can't completely run away from me. Now at 10 weeks old, I've never seen a puppy that young decide to just adios, head out. I think if a dog starts to fade away from me, I'm usually reading that, watching that, seeing that disconnect, and then walking away from it. And making a little bit of a fuss, making a little bit of a noise, making a little bit of excitement, going, come on. Make whatever you got to do, beep, 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 beep on the whistle. Get the puppy's attention, and then the puppy can see you at 10 weeks old. Their eyes aren't even that good yet. Can see you faded at a distance and go, geez, he's leaving. And then as soon as she takes the first step towards you, you go, oh, you're so good. Come on. And you reel that puppy in with that excitement. You get her to you, you pet her up, you love her, and then you walk away from her again. And so I'm afraid that potentially this puppy is going, I'm not coming back by you because I know what comes next. Bring the puppy to you and give it a piece of kibble. Be a treat trainer for the day. But I phase that out pretty quickly once the dog goes, oh, maybe he's going to give me something. Well, it doesn't matter if he gives me something for food. He loves me, and then he lets me go back to play. And then we do and you can literally turn this into a game of how quickly can I get back to you, Dad? And these dogs almost get competitive. These puppies will get competitive with the idea, but you have to stimulate that game. And it's got to be super short. You're not going to be able to keep the puppy's attention for 10 minutes. At 10 weeks old, you might get 2 or 3 times of this game, maybe 2 or 3 repetitions of you walked away and the puppy came to you, you walked away, the puppy came to you, you walked away, the puppy came to you. Okay, be done. Don't keep trying to force this puppy to engage in this game, because get 2 or 3 times in a row and be done. And then when I say be done, don't scoop the puppy up and go kennel it up, because that's maybe part of the issue to begin with. Do 2 or 3 repetitions and then scoop the puppy up and just pet her for a while. Bring her into the house, put her on place. And then you start to change the process at that point to the next thing of the day. So that would be my recommendation. I just don't think you can't just throw your hands up and go, oh, my dog doesn't come to me. Because all it does is fuel its independence. And we certainly aren't going to do the play of the game, catch them, because that's way more fun than running to me. So that's one of them. Now, let's scroll back up. We had Noah's question. Now, Noah's question is a little bit different. 16 weeks old. Now, this one's a little deeper, too, because I've been getting messages since 2016. But more specifically, in less than a month, we've talked about, he's messaged me back and forth, and we've talked about this little puppy that he's got, 12 weeks old. I do think that one of the responses was interesting, where he said, we got him at 12 weeks, only having him for a week and a half. His recall's not very good. He's very food driven, but doesn't respond well to praise well. I know it's not ideal, but I've been working on him with recall and with food. I don't care. That's all fine. He said, I'm planning to work out on staking him out today. He just said, so much information, I realized I was expecting way too much from this little dog. That was on July 23rd. With a 12-week-old puppy, in response to my question of, it's only 12 weeks old. I think you have to take a deep breath, and you have to relax and have realistic expectations. And he admitted, I think I had unrealistic expectations. So that was 12 weeks. He's not even 16 weeks. It hasn't even been a month. And now his message is, I've been working on recall with him as much as I can, but it seems like I'm not getting very far. That's because it's been 3 weeks. Stuff, just because you work on stuff really hard doesn't mean you're going to get fast results. I agree that working hard gets results, but with dogs, it's a patience game. It's a long-term game. It's not a sprint. It's a marathon. And so if we treat it a marathon like a sprint, you're going to be burnt out by mile 1. And you got how many miles in 26 miles, something like that? 26.2?
Marathon?
Yeah. Come on, you're an old jogger, aren't you?
Not that
so
far.
you got 25 more miles to go, but you're tired already. So look at it this way. Take the deep breath again. I mean, it's been 3 weeks. I feel like from July 20, your first message to me was July 22nd, and then you messaged me on July 23rd and said, you know what? You're right, I expected too much. Well, it's only been 3 more weeks. So be patient, be consistent, be repetitious, and I promise you habits will form. But the harder you work at it, you also have to be, that word patience has to come in, because you can't work with a 12 to 16 week old window of puppy. You can't work with them every day on stuff all day long and expect it to stick. It's way too much. It's overwhelming. I think you take tiny little bites at this, not big, hard-working sessions. So that's the first thing is, yeah, you haven't gone very far because you've only been going at it for 3 weeks. Now it says you said we have him on a lead most of the time when he goes outside, so you've 180'd. You went from, now you're on a lead. That's going to shape behavior, no problem. So it says, after meal times, take him to the backyard, let him explore, and he does his business and would call him over to me. He started doing very well, but now I'll only get 1 or 2 good recalls, and then he zooms past me. Now I look back at the last person we were talking to with that 10-week-old puppy, and I go, there's a reason why I said get 1 or 2 good recalls and then be done. Because you're experiencing it. You're a perfect example, Noah. You get 1 or 2 really good ones in, it says. I'll get 1 or 2 good recalls in. Then he starts zooming past me. What is he telling you? His attention span at 16 weeks old is about 1 or 2 repetitions of good. But then he starts zooming past you, and then you keep calling him, and he just takes off hot lapping around the yard, and you want to avoid it. But you continue, it sounds like, to go and put yourself in that situation. So I don't want to state obvious stuff here, but stop after the second good one, and you'll never have the third bad one. And if you never have what happens last is what sticks in the dog's mind. So when you get to a point where you're having a hard time taking the next step, And you look at your sessions leading up to it and you realize we do really well the first half. The second half is always terrible. I can't get past this step in the process. It's because the last step, the last half of the step, is always terrible. And that's the last thing in the dog's mind, and that's the progress you've got to build on. Every time you start a new session, you're building off the last. The last one ended terribly, you're building off of a bad lesson. So it's like building up, like if we were building a bridge, and the bridge has to stretch across the water. And you can only build a section at a time, and let's say the section is 10 feet long. So every day you go to build a section. You got to go 100 feet total, okay? 10 sections to get across the water. You build 10 feet of bridge every day, and by the end of that 10 feet, you knock 5 feet off. You built 10 feet of bridge, and then you busted the last 5 feet of it off. And now the part where you're going to start building off of tomorrow is not a clean, nice, sharp edge. It's all jagged and crumbly because it's just left over from what you tore out of it yesterday. So now what do you have to do? Before you can start building your next 10 feet, you have to fix the edge. You have to repair the broken, damaged, crumbly part of the bridge. Well, hell, that might take enough. You only have so much time to build the bridge. That might take all the time you have for that day. So and then tomorrow you might be able to build 10 feet, but you do the same thing. You knock 5 feet of it off and you leave it in shambles. So the next day you come back and you go, man, I can't start building again. Or whatever you're building off of is crap. And so if you don't repair it and you just start building your next 10 feet, it won't connect. So now you've got a bridge with big gaps in it. And then when you decide you're at the end of it and you go, let's cross the bridge, you fall in a bunch of holes. Because you did a poor job of starting and finishing each segment of the bridge. And because of that, you get crappy construction. Right now, you get 2 good sessions, you get 2 good repetitions out of the weakness. Your struggle right now is recall, it sounds like. You get 2 good ones in a row, and then you go 3, 4, 5, however many, and all it does is turn into hot lapping around the yard, which you want to avoid. And you put it away on that note every time. Let the dog tell you how big of an attention span they have. I've cut Bella Be Good sessions short halfway through what I was hoping to get through. And the reason I cut them short is not because we accomplished what we wanted to. It was because I realized we can't go any further. We should be happy with what we've got. And I better quit now before I take steps backwards. I better quit now before I start tearing apart my bridge. So we're done. Put the dog up. Make a note of it. Next time we start out and we see if we can get beyond that a little bit. If we have a session that goes like that, I usually don't take on something new the next session. This is where day in and day out, session by session, it's so important to understand where you are and where you left off and where you want to go. All those 3 things have to jive. And so if you're just helter-skelter with your training of today we'll work on this, tomorrow we'll work on that, today we'll work on this, none of that stuff connects, and it makes it really hard on the dog to make progress. So I look at, if I have a session that doesn't go that well and it's cut short, I usually go, okay, tomorrow we need to do it again. And if it doesn't go as well as I want it to, tomorrow we might do it again. And after 3 or 4 days of doing it, if we're not improving on it, I'm going, how come? And I'm not just going, well, let's do it again, let's do it again, let's do it again, because I'm smart enough to recognize it's not working. So then I start thinking in my mind, well, what should I do differently? Why do I think it's not working? What kind of changes can I make? And then I go, if it does work really well, I go, great, it's working really well. Let's do it in another spot. Because the chances are it won't go as well. And then we can replicate the process there until it gets really good there, and then I can move again. And then all of a sudden, after doing it so many times in so many different places and having it go well, I feel very confident in the idea of transitioning the behavior into new spots under different circumstances, different situations. That's a trained dog. One that can perform. Last night I went to my buddy Todd's place and we did some stuff we've never done before. I've never trained at his place on his water before. We used his water. And we set up some drills that are similar to stuff we've done here, but obviously it's a completely new environment. And it was incorporating some water. If you watch our Instagram story, you would have seen it. I'll probably be making some posts on our Instagram and Facebook as well from that session. But when we set up there, I definitely could not, and it was a real test for me to see how Bella did. Now, my other dogs, Spry, Ellie, and Taylor, I felt pretty confident with plugging them into the different setups that we were doing because they have pretty good skill base. And I can transfer those skills to lots of different environments. With Bella, Bella's gotten good in certain spots here at certain things, but when I move her into a new spot, I don't know how it's going to go. So I told Ty, we're going to experiment a little bit and see how she handles it. And if she handles it well, we'll add more. If she doesn't, we'll take steps back and we'll repeat things until she gets it. And that'll be it. That's what she's going to get out of today. And she handled things really well yesterday. All of our dogs, we should have done that, maybe are doing that. Well, change it. It's doable. So that's it for now. Appreciate you guys listening. Please do us a favor. If you're listening on an app that has a rating, if you could give us a rating, we'd really appreciate it. Please don't hesitate to check out our other social platforms, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. They're all a little bit different. We use them each a little bit differently. DogBoneHunter.com is our website. So there are a lot of people that have asked me about the videos and said, I didn't know you had training videos. I just knew about your YouTube channel. We've got formal edited training videos. DogBone Hunters, the website, there's a tab actually that says DVDs, Puppy, Foundation, Shed, and Game Recovery. And we have most of those, all but the Game Recovery is available digitally as well as an actual physical DVD. So those are all different tools. Our website, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube are all three little bit different tools. All I think have some value to them, but they are a little bit differently, used a little bit differently. So if you are looking for more information, looking for more stuff, and enjoy what you're hearing, I would recommend you check those out. When you're on YouTube, hit subscribe and turn the notifications on. It'll make Ben really happy. I've got a challenge out to Ben right now. What can he do with our YouTube channel? So he's got us up over 5,000 followers, and I know a lot of people are going to laugh at that and go, 5,000? Yeah, I know. We're not wide. We're real deep. We got really good followers. We just don't have a ton of them, and that's okay. I don't need a bazillion people that don't care. I would rather have 10 that really do care, and we can try to help them. So thank you guys for the support. We appreciate it greatly, and we will continue putting these out.